Joseph is one of the biggest sections of Genesis and the pinnacle or the cap of the whole book. One way, and look, I know we've discussed the many different ways to look at Genesis, but actually the intention is that you will get a glimpse of how rich the book of Genesis is, right? But one way to look at the book of Genesis is as the first book of the Torah, which or the Pentateuch, right? It's a collection of 5 books. In fact, the Torah can be seen as just one book. It's technically the first book of the Tanakh, right? Which is the Hebrew scriptures. It's like a prequel. It is the story of how Israel, Genesis is like a prequel, right, to the whole Pentateuch story. It's how did Israel find themselves in Egypt in the first place. That's why it begins with creation, Adam goes all the way, and it ends with Joseph, with the people of Israel in Egypt. Joseph's story caps off all that, the predominant theme of Genesis, that God is a good God. One key verse is Genesis 50 verse 20, and it goes, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." See, Joseph is this example. And it's not just of Joseph, it's of humanity. You see it with Satan even, and the fall. What Satan intended for all of humanity, God has intended for good, for the saving of many lives. Joseph is this prime example. He responds differently from those who are before him. You see in Joseph a different response from Abraham through to Noah, through to Adam and the like. Because God gives him a promise, just like Adam and Eve, just like Abraham. But this time, Joseph unwaveringly believes it. Then, all kinds of bad things happen to Joseph. He's betrayed, he's sold, he's falsely accused by Potiphar's wife. He's imprisoned, and then when he's imprisoned and he's got his one hope of being saved, the people who are supposed to save him forget about him. Oh, a lot of bad things. But ultimately, God proves faithful. All of this treachery around Joseph, the betrayal, the bad events that happen, they get turned around. And I love the ending of this journey of Joseph. He gets to the end, and it's his brothers who have betrayed him. They come to him, and now Joseph gets the chance to be the one who does good. Joseph is the one now who is in a position to actually destroy their life or to help them, and he chooses to bless them instead. Joseph recognizes at the end of his story that he has truly been blessed, and the purpose of his blessing is so that he could bless his brothers and many, many others. He realizes it's his turn to show good. Do you know why Joseph shows good? It's because he knows that God is good. He recognizes God's hand in all of this. That's why Genesis begins with God. It ends also with God. It is God who inspires us to be like him. And we find at the end of this human story of Genesis that we are indeed just like God, made in his image, with the capacity to do good, to reflect our good Creator. You know, in this original blessing in Genesis 12, 1-3, it says, "I will make your name great so that you will be a blessing." That was God's intent all along, from the start, creating this world full of goodness and blessing, through to the covenant he made with Adam to be fruitful and multiply, through to the calling out of Abraham to be a blessing to others and the other nations, through even to the story of Joseph, who ends up being a blessing to his family and all the nations around, through to ultimately Jesus, who in John 10:10 says, "Only the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But He, Jesus, came that we might have life and have it abundantly. The human journey is our journey back to God, back to His good purposes and back to His good nature. I hope you see God. You see God's hand in all of this. God bless and have a great trip.